Americans today have an arguably unhealthy obsession with health. Or do they? While many Americans think being healthy goes hand in hand with being beautiful, this just isn't the case. Some American beauty standards prove to be detrimental to people's health. Whether it be from a desire to be X many pounds underweight or cut out X, Y, and Z from their diet, Americans consistently place looks over logic. However, this begs the question, is this uniquely American, or is it a worldwide phenomenon? Welcome to Bridging Beauty. My colleague Peter and I decided to tackle this question and explore the issue with other young adults around the world. For the purposes of this podcast, we've narrowed our interviews down to 5 people who we believed will have best shed light on this issue. So now, let's travel 4,015 miles from Ann Arbor, Michigan to Lamar, Sweden. So we start here with Jim, a young adult who has lived in Sweden his whole life. We asked him about beauty standards and fitness trends in the country and, unsurprisingly, found that it aligned pretty closely with typical Western trends and standards.
My name is Jim and I'm 31 years old and I live in Gothenburg, Sweden.
In Sweden, what would be considered a healthy diet?
A healthy diet is probably something with, let's say, protein on the brand. If you can have like a regular soda, but if you put like protein on it, it will sell like hell in all the stores in Sweden. I don't know why, but it's like that. But a healthy, people like to eat like a salad or salmon or something like that. That would be a healthy meal in Sweden.
When approaching health, what is more common in like the general population, fitness or dieting?
I would say dieting, because people have, if you see like a TV commercial with some diets, they have like 10 different diets, and the diets are like, they fit different people. So one person maybe try all 10 diets instead of focusing on the fitness aspect. People in Sweden, they are like physically active every day, I would say. It's like people can go out for a walk, or people go to the gym or do something like that. It's a lot of the guys like to work their upper body with heavy weights. The girls or the women, they more go to like classes like aerobic, spinning, and yeah, like their group sessions, and that's at the gym. But mostly Swedish people go out like in the woods running. That's a regular thing people do in Sweden, running.
So like in America, it's very common for people to use like Fitbits or like an Apple Watch to track their health and like their fitness in some way. Would you say that's also common in Sweden?
Yeah, it's actually coming more and more. My wife got a Fitbit and she's loving that one. So it's more and more common to see people with apps like that, and they also compete with like each other, or some companies have like a competition with all the workers. They have like a meter that counts every step you take. I don't know what you call that in English, but and the person who wins every month wins like some gift card in some store, and the company pays for the devices like the Fitbit or whatever you have, to see all the workers how many steps they are taking, or because they want to have their employees healthy.
After all that, there was one thing that stuck out to us, and it's probably just because we're American. Companies in Sweden tend to promote a healthier living among their workers.
In Sweden, we also have, most of the companies you work at in Sweden, they have like, you get a small amount of money that you can use to buy a membership at a gym, or if you go climbing or yoga or anything, your company will be paying a small amount in every year. So just to make the people more healthy in Sweden.
Now, peace out to Swedish meatballs. We're traveling 4,716 miles from Lamar, Sweden to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Here's what Rocio Torres grew up.
My name is Rocio Torres Cortez. I am 29 years old. I am a chiropractor and I currently live in Pennsylvania. I was born in Puerto Rico and lived there till I was 24. I went to school all the way through undergrad in Puerto Rico. And then when I graduated with a biology major, I went to study chiropractic in South Carolina. And that's a 3.5-year program. And I graduated a little over a year ago. And after South Carolina, I ended up moving to Pennsylvania to open up my own practice.
So although Puerto Rico is in the Western world physically, the island actually seems to have some pretty different norms when it comes to beauty and health.
What is considered a healthy diet in Puerto Rico?
So a healthy diet would be pretty much just rice, beans, chicken. We have a lot of, we call them verduras, which is kind of like roots that we eat. Like, I don't know if you've heard, they've got different names. I still don't know how they're called in English for sure. But like one of them, an example is like, it's called a yucca in English, which sounds disgusting, but it's not. So it's a lot of like plantain. We have a lot of plantain that we eat, a lot of pork that we eat too. So that's, I'm not sure if I would say that's considered healthy, but that is what our diet mainly consists of. Like a normal Puerto Rican family will eat that. We eat rice on the daily, chicken on the daily, beans on the daily, and yeah, pretty much that.
In Puerto Rico, like what are the most common ways that people would exercise if they are like trying to stay in shape and go about like their own fitness?
Yeah, so there's a big wave of cycling that's been going on for the past like 6-7 years. A lot of people cycle. A lot of people have started doing like yoga and all of that. But mostly, I think in general terms, it's just going to the gyms and doing like weight training.
Have you noticed like a generational difference in how like the older generations in Puerto Rico exercise versus younger generations?
Oh yeah. So I think older generations just, first of all, mostly stayed active because they had just more active jobs, I believe. You know, I had both of my grandparents. One of them owned a store, so he just pretty much stayed active the whole time. It was a furniture store, so it's a little physical. And the other one has a farm, and he used to work in construction. And I think a lot of my grandparents, great-grandparents just had that kind of a lifestyle where their jobs kept them very active. They weren't very sedentary. Now, if I think of like our generation, it is much more like there's more students now than there were then. So we do have a lot more sitting down, and it has to be more of a very like a conscious effort to exercise, as opposed to before it kind of just happened, you know, in your daily. So yeah, there is a difference. I know like anything that is like outdoorsy, like walking or just kind of doing a sport was more common back then. Versus today, it's very much like consciously I need to, you know, lift this weight for this muscle, and aesthetically also, I do feel like just our generation in general, I think in the States as well, it has changed what's considered attractive, I guess. The more like bulkier kind of guys, I don't know, people like that. People want to get that body type because it's just so muscular, or at least is very showy. And the types of exercises that you have to make to get to that are very different than what would have been done 50 years ago, definitely.
What is considered like the ideal body type in Puerto Rico for both men and women?
If I generalize, that they would be like leaner kind of guys, not necessarily tall, because honestly, we're not tall. People do like light colored eyes, usually because it's just even more unique to be like kind of tan and also have light colored eyes in general. For girls, if I'm gonna think of body type, we're more voluptuous in Puerto Rico, so it leans more towards just like more plump. It's not necessarily just like the very skinny, I guess, typical model that you would have thought of 10 years ago, because I know that's changing as well.
Now that we've looked at some countries in the West, it's only fair that we explore those in the East. So our next stop is 9,100 miles from San Juan, Bangalore, India.
I'm Nila Murali. I lived in India for 3 years, in Coimbatore, which is in Tamil Nadu, for 1 year, and then in Bangalore, which is in Karnataka, for 2 years. They're both in like the southern part of India.
Fitness in India shared similarities with fitness in Puerto Rico. However, there were other aspects of health in India that were incredibly unique, mostly in regards to the diet and foods in the country.
Are there a variety of like unhealthy foods compared to healthier foods? And like, is there easy access to unhealthy foods?
Unhealthy foods, like most of the food that even they make, like even like sweets and snacks and stuff, they're usually made of like healthier wheats, and like not really, most things aren't really like fatty. They don't use a lot of butter or a lot of oil. So even what they would consider unhealthy food is it's like there's like healthy things. Like the ingredients are usually like very, very healthy. But like recently there's a lot more like influence of, I feel like, Western culture, as they would say it, is like there's a lot more chips change, like opportunity. There's like Lay's and like Doritos and things like that recently, but like even now it's still quite healthy, on the healthier side. I would say most people there, and at least while we were there, everything's home cooked. I mean, it's like in Indian culture itself, going out is like, that's like a once a month or twice a month thing. Like it's not very often, even to like nobody really gets takeout either. So it's always usually home cooked. Anything, even like quickly, just like making like some sort of like bread or anything, it's always home cooked.
Do you think tradition in India like can get in the way of a healthy lifestyle, or do you think it helps a healthy lifestyle?
I would say it's kind of like both. So like the traditional food itself and like what you're often like offered is like quite healthy. So like that's why dieting isn't like a big thing, because like you just have to reduce your portions. You can't like eat healthier because the food itself is quite healthy. But because everybody's always offering you food all the time, it kind of gets hard to diet too.
Now, as Nila said, it's considered traditional for Indians to sit together and eat, so one might expect them to track their food intake like many Americans. But the surprising thing was that they didn't track what they ate like most Western trackers do. They tracked what they drank.
I don't really know anybody who like counts calories or like how many calories they burn or anything, or even reads nutrition labels often, but I know they like count how much they like kind of record how much water they drink a lot, because I mean people get dehydrated there fast.
Now that we've explored the East a little, maybe we should consider looking in the middle. 2,947 miles from Bangalore, India, lies the town of Bet Sohor in Palestine.
My name is Michael Matarweh. I'm a 19-year-old Palestinian, half Palestinian, half Jordanian. I live in Bet Sohor, Palestine. It's a country near Bethlehem. I study medicine in the Jordanian University of Science and Technology.
One thing that Michelle really touched upon was the influence of Western culture on Palestine and how it has changed their way of life, from the introduction of basketball to an influx of fast food options.
Would you say that most people pay attention to fitness or nutrition?
Yeah. Most people definitely pay attention to fitness. Yeah, so we have in Beit Sahor we have about 4 or 5 fitness centers, and basketball recently became a popular thing here, because a few years ago football was more popular than basketball, but with the NBA games and the NBA on PlayStation, basketball is now definitely more popular in Beit Sahor, and a lot of young kids are playing basketball. So from the whole thing considered, I do consider fitness is a more important way of living a healthy lifestyle.
What would you say are the most common ways that people would stay like physically active or exercise?
Yeah, gyms mostly going to the gym, because I see guys tend to go toward weightlifting, and I see girls and go toward cardio.
What would you say are some unhealthy standards in Palestine? Like, if you saw someone, how would you know if they were living an unhealthy life?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's pretty similar to where you live. If you see someone with a lot of weight, you can tell, and it's a mindset that you say that this person is unhealthy. If you see a person eating or going to a lot of fast food places, which we don't have the popular fast food chain that you have, because I told you recently opened Popeyes. I don't know if you have this one, and Domino's Pizza. So if you see people going to these places, you definitely consider them not living a healthy lifestyle. When comparing them with people who are always running, who go to the gym, fitness centers, playing sports, who's considered healthy people.
While Palestine has seen some Western influences, there are some places in the world that seem to have felt no effects of it at all. 4,256 miles from Beit Sahur is Ouagadougou, the capital and largest city of Burkina Faso. We spoke to Amiria, who shed some light on fitness and dieting in Burkina Faso, or the lack thereof.
Burkina Faso is not really like a special country, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing really like interesting there.
What would be considered a healthy diet in Burkina Faso?
Principally, what we really eat in Burkina Faso is like mostly rice and a lot of vegetable. We mostly eat rice and like something else. It's kind of hard to explain, but like we eat a lot of corn. To be honest, I don't really think like back in Burkina Faso, like we really worry about like our weight, of this kind of stuff, because mostly even if we eat a lot, we see healthy because we mostly eat like fruit and a lot of vegetables. Like we don't have any like fast food or this kind of stuff. So I can say we kind of like eating a lot of healthy food if you count like all the vegetable we eat. So I never really heard someone say, hey, I need to lose weight or something like that, It's mostly baked. Like we don't really like fry a lot of things. The only thing we like fry maybe is like maybe chicken or like meat. But like when we fry it, it's not really like here you're gonna like have fried chicken, like with like all the stuff, like the seasoning and everything. It's mostly just chicken and oil and just that's it, seasoning it all of that. We don't really do that.
In Burkina Faso, is it common for people to be physically active?
Not a lot, because most of the job we have is like manual job. Like we don't really have like machines or all of that. So like you're just gonna see someone like holding wax, like to build a house. We're just gonna move it by hand. We don't really have like oven machine you guys using. So I guess that's like part of like physical activity. Actually, I don't even think we have like a lot of gym, to be honest.
If you got to make the perfect model in Burkina Faso, what would he or she look like?
There's like a lot of song like describing the perfect like African woman, and like the perfect African woman is someone that is a little bit fat, like fat, big butt and big chest. So yeah, like skinny girls is not like, I'm not now, like mostly like when I was in Burkina Faso, most of the people are like a little bit like fat, but not like fat.
Since Western influences have not affected life in Burkina Faso, we can assume that Western beauty standards are not very prevalent there either.
For men, actually, I don't really think there's like a body type for men, to be honest. I don't know, but I feel like it's like not short, if you know what I mean, like maybe a little bit tall. I'm not gonna say like muscular, but like normal. I'm gonna say like someone who's not really like strong, but like maybe in the middle.
Now that we've finished with Amelia, it's time to head home. 5,248 miles back to Ann Arbor. With little left to learn, that leaves us with nothing but time to ponder what may be the best approach to fitness and beauty. As seen through our guests, there's clearly a wide variety to how different cultures approach health and beauty. Are Swedish companies' obsession with tracking the way to go? How about more leisure-like activities in Puerto Rico? Or should we let traditions go unaffected by Western trends like they do in India? Or the complete opposite, like in Palestine? Or how about we just act as though they don't exist, such as in Burkina Faso? Thanks for listening to Bridging Beauty. Until next time, I've been your host, Holly Gurnik, alongside my interview colleague, Peter Matarweh, and our editor, Dyanna Bateman. And thank you to our interviewees for taking the time to answer our questions and helping shed a light on beauty and health across cultures.